Generally, after the Super Bowl ends, most NFL fans, unless you're a fan of the Super Bowl winning team, goes through a little bit of a depression knowing that you won't be able to watch another live football game for several months. But 2019 is a whole different situation where this Saturday night, February 9th, we have the very first Alliance of American Football game kicking off, the AAF. We have the Orlando Apollos taking on the Atlanta Legends, and I am so excited for this league. First of all, the reason why I'm excited is just because I have a team that's in my town. The Orlando Apollos are playing at UCF, so it's only a few miles away from my house. I'm a season ticket holder, so I'm very excited about that I have a dog in a hunt. And just we have some more football to watch, and I think everyone can go for that. And I'm doing this video because I've gotten a lot of requests of people kind of intrigued about this league. They want to know more about the AAF because we're all savages. Whether you guys think that you're going to be watching or not, you're most likely going to start watching this game because it's football. And if you're watching this video, if you watch this channel, you're most likely a diehard football fan, so it's really exciting. Now, let's go on and tell you guys a little bit more about this league. Now, there are 8 teams divided into 2 conferences. You have the Eastern Conference with the Atlanta Legends, the Birmingham Iron, the Memphis Express, and the Orlando Apollos. While in the Western Conference, you have the Arizona Hotshots, the Salt Lake Stallions, the San Antonio Commanders, and the San Diego Fleet. And the way the playoffs work is that 4 teams make it to the playoffs. The top 2 teams from each conference, the top seed will host the first playoff game before the Super Bowl or the championship game, whatever they call in this league, is going to be played out in Las Vegas. Now, some famous coaches of note that are going to be in this league. We have Steve Spurrier. Florida fans love him, obviously. He's going to be the coach of the Orlando Apollos. You have Brad Childress, a former head coach for the Minnesota Vikings. He'll be coaching the Atlanta Legends, with actually Michael Vick is going to be offensive coordinator of that team. And you also have Mike Singletary, head coach of the Memphis Express. So you got a lot of pretty good marquee names out here in the coaching circles. Now, it's pretty interesting the way the rosters are constructed. First of all, there is a draft, but it's not a draft of all the players. It's a quarterback draft. You know, these guys are trying to draft quarterbacks to fit whatever system that they're in. The number 1 quarterback taken actually happened to be Josh Johnson, who wound up starting and winning several games for the Washington Redskins this year as kind of a 4th-string quarterback. So, you know, you have him in the mix. Some other guys that got drafted, you have Trevor Knight, Aaron Murray, Blake Sims, Scott Tolzien, Christian Hackenberg, Zach Mettenberger, and you also have Stephen Morris. So a bunch of kind of high-profile college quarterback names. May not have worked as well in the NFL, but all those guys performed at pretty good levels in college football. Now, the way the other players are constructed, it's more of a regional type of thing. Basically, they pluck players from schools around the area. Like, I know the Orlando Apollos are just filled with Gator players, Florida State players, and all that kind of stuff. You know, some other players that you guys have, like the Birmingham Iron, they have Trent Richardson on their team. To go around the league a little bit more, some familiar names you guys might be familiar with. Obviously, like I said, there's Trent Richardson. There's also Denard Robinson, Will Hill, Frankie Hammond, Matt Asiata, Bishop Sankey. Just a bunch of different names of players that you guys might have heard of that probably didn't do as well as they wanted to in the NFL, but this is good because they get kind of a redemption. They get a chance to actually play some live football and put some more film out there. Now, each player is signed to a 3-year, $250,000 contract, which is a pretty decent chunk of money, and most of this is just incentive-based. There's different performance goals or bonuses that you can get. You know, there's team type of bonuses where, you know, maybe this team leads the league in defense, so they get a bonus for that. You know, there's also personal bonuses, like maybe, you know, one player leads the lead in touchdowns, you get a bonus for that. There's also fan engagement bonuses where a player, you know, they might go bowling out of this bowling alley at a fan engagement rally. There might be, you know, a pep rally or an autograph signing. You know, they get different bonuses for that. So I haven't dug too much into what all goes into these contracts, but that's kind of the gist of it. Now, there are some differences between the way the NFL is played and the way the AAF is played. First of all, there are no TV timeouts, which are awesome. That's going to equate to probably about 60% fewer commercials. They're trying to move the overall game time. Like in real-time minutes, a usual NFL game will last 3 hours. In the AAF, they're trying to make it about 2.5 hours. So they're doing that not for people like you or me that are probably really diehard football fans. They're mostly doing this for, guys like Jim at the water cooler that basically only watches football to keep up with his fantasy football teams. Stuff like that. They're trying to make it more attractive for just the common football fan that might not be super diehard about it, but are still kind of interested in it. Now, there are no extra points, only 2-point conversions, which are kind of interesting to me. I do kind of like it just because of the fact that, first of all, it gives less importance on the kickers. I've never been about, like you saw in the Bears game this year in the playoffs, you have players for 59 minutes and 55 seconds. You guys have just big 250, 300-pound linemen pushing each other back and forth. And then all of a sudden at the end of the game's decided by a missed kick by like a kicker. I'm all about taking less importance off, making the kicker less important. And this is a way to do it. And then also, this is a developmental league, so it gives more players a chance to do like 4th and 2s, really goal line situations. And I think that'll be better for this player development as opposed to just kicking extra points. Now, there are actually no kickoffs, which it seems like that's something that the NFL might kind of go off to depending on how the AAF does. I mean, we saw the XFL back in the day, which I will talk about a little later, but the NFL did bring in some things that the XFL introduced, kind of like sky cams and coaching interviews like during the game. So this could be something that the AAF actually introduces to the NFL. Now, the way the no kickoffs work is that every team will start off with the ball at their own 25-yard line. So, it kind of like a regular touchback is in college football and NFL football. And then also, if you want to do an onside kick, the way it's done is a team will start off with the ball at their own 28-yard line. And they're in a 4th and 12 situation. They basically go for it, and obviously if you don't get the 12 yards, then there's a turnover on downs, which is pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure the conversion rate for AAF onsides will be a lot higher than an actual onside kick in the regular NFL. So I do like this more, and also places a little less importance on the kicker. So I like this, and it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Another difference is the play clock in the AAF is going to be 35 seconds as opposed to the NFL where it is 40 seconds. And I'll be interested to see this if it actually works out, just because you would think that these less developed players would need more time, but you also factor into the fact that there's probably not going to be making as many like audibles at the line of scrimmage as they do in the NFL when it comes to switching up the protection schemes or audibling to your hot route receiver and stuff like that. And you're also dealing with probably less crowd noise, so there's going to be a lot less of that. So hopefully this doesn't make the play sloppier. Hopefully they still get the plays off in time, because I would hate for this just to result in more delays of games or more players confused as to what play they're going to be running. So this is thing that I'm definitely a little bit more skeptical of. Now, coaches are only given 2 challenges per game, and that's just like how it is in the NFL, except for the fact that now no longer is every scoring play reviewed, no longer is every turnover reviewed. They're getting rid of that. Coaches have 2 challenges per game, and inside of 2 minutes, they're still automatic reviews. So that's just a little bit of a difference in kind of the rules. And also, overtime is a lot different. Overtime is a little bit weird to me. I don't really like the way the NFL overtime is constructed. I like the way college football is constructed a lot. But this is different than both of them. Basically, each team will get a possession. They start off at the opponent's 10-yard line. Each team gets 1 possession to basically score. And games get into ties. So, I mean, I would expect this to be like no team will ever kick a field goal in overtime because, unless the first team, because no coaches like to play for ties. It would suck to be the first team to go, because then you had to kind of see the team, and then most likely the team's going to want to go for it on a 4th down, and they don't get it. All of a sudden, the other team go out there, trot out their kicker, and kick basically, like a 27-yard kick. So I don't know about this. I would rather just do the college overtime thing, but I'm sure what they're trying to do, it seems like a lot with this when it comes to the play clock stuff, when it comes to challenges. They're just trying to shorten the length of the games, obviously like with the no TV timeouts, for example. I think they're just trying not to make overtime extend a really long length of time. I mean, we saw this year in college football, Texas A&M and LSU went into like 7 overtimes. So I'm sure they're trying to prevent that. But games can end in ties, and I think ties always stink in football. But whatever. I mean, whatever they got to do to kind of decrease the length of time in these games. Now, those are the main differences when it comes to actual rule changes. But now I want to get into why the AAF will actually succeed. Because I don't know if you guys watched the XFL 30 for 30 on ESPN. If you haven't already, I definitely recommend you doing that. Very interesting documentary. But the XFL crashed and burned. It only lasted 1 season. And a big reason for that is because they were more about the entertainment side of it than they were the actual football side of it. They were trying to combine wrestling. They were trying to make it like a hard-hitting thing where like only tough guys go in there. A dumb scramble at the beginning of the game, like no fair catches. Just really, really weird stuff. And they were mostly about like the cheerleader factor and just all this stuff. They just weren't about the game of football. And they were trying to compete directly with the NFL. The AAF isn't doing that. They're saying, look, we're a developmental league. We're not going to have games the same time as the NFL. We're basically doing this to help out players, to help them get into their ultimate goal and getting back into the NFL. That's what they're all about. And when you look at it, teams are affiliated with like NFL teams. They're loosely affiliated with NFL teams, I should say. Like for example, the Jags are an affiliate with the Atlanta Legends. Now, a little more about this whole how they're affiliated. Basically, if the Jaguars go through in training camp, and once they trim the roster down from 90 players to 53 players, whoever players get cut and they don't sign on to an NFL team or they don't sign on to a practice squad, an AAF team like the Jaguars would get first, or like the Atlanta Legends would get the first dibs at any Jaguars players like that goes through waivers. They'll be able to sign them to like a reserve type of contract. So I mean, now this isn't to be confused with like the farm system in the MLB where like, okay, this is the double A, this is like the Jacksonville Suns or the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp to the Miami Marlins, where okay, these are our players that can compete control over them. We can call them up when we want to, and with the Atlanta Legends, I mean, even though they're an affiliate with the Jaguars, at any point an NFL team can like sign one of these guys. So that's kind of a little difference in that with the affiliation. Now each AAF team is also affiliated when it comes to college, power college teams being in the mix. Like the Orlando Apollos, they get dibs at players from Florida, Miami, UCF, USF, like FAU, FIU, basically all the college football teams in the state. So that's pretty cool. I mean, like if you look at the Orlando Apollos roster, they're loaded with in-state players. A lot of players that you guys, if you're a fan of any of these teams, you guys would probably recognize a lot of these guys. So I think that's one really, really cool thing about it. Now that's kind of my review of the AAF. Now this league will last 10 games. CBS is going to be the TV affiliate with a few games that are going to be on NFL Network, and I think Bleacher Report Live is going to be doing some stuff. Like I don't know, but this league will last 10 weeks. Each team will play teams in their conference twice, and teams out of conference once. So that'll be a combined 10 games for them. So I'm really excited about this league. Let me know what you guys think about this league. Are you guys excited? Who's going to be your AAF team if you join the Alliance? I'm all aboard the Orlando Apollos train. So that's the end of my video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys with probably a Jaguar video next time.